Hi, I'm Julia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel NB Library. And this is going to be a vlog for both the reading challenge Winterween and then kind of a week in the life as I do a month-long reading challenge, TBRathon, which is hosted by Leander the TBR Zero. And Winterween is hosted by Gabby over at Gabby Reads, so I will link to both of their channels down below. Winterween is a reading challenge that goes from January 9th to 15th, so it's only a week, and like Halloween and Summerween, it is a celebration of horror. There are reading sprints and merch, and you don't have to read horror for it, but I'm going to make an attempt. This is Saturday, January 10th, apparently. I thought it was the 11th. And today's the second day of Winterween. I was going to film this intro last night on day one of Winterween, but we'd been hanging out with our friends and I was just too tired afterwards to turn on the camera. So there is a bingo board for Winterween, so I'm going to try and get at least a bingo. And then there are also challenges for Winterween that are some of the things on the bingo board. And so those are read a book at night, read a thriller or horror book, read a book with red or blood on the cover, read a book about vampires or werewolves or witches, and read a 2025 release that you never got around to. And luckily for me, a book that I was already planning on reading that I got on sale on Kobo counts for all of these prompts as long as I read it at night, which in the winter should not be difficult. And that is, I'm finally going to read it, The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This will be my first full-length Stephen Graham Jones. I read Mapping the Interior, which is a short novella of his, but I've only stayed away because people said that his books are gory and I don't like gore. But I have found lately in the last 2 years that I've been able to handle tougher subject matter and more horror, so I'm going to try this one that everyone says is one of his best and see if I like it. It's a little high stakes because I got the audio version for my friend for Christmas, so I'm hoping that he listens to that and enjoys it and we can discuss it together. He likes horror more than I do, so he might have a better time. We'll see. So for Winterween, I'm kind of just going to be concentrating on reading The Buffalo Hunter and then doing the challenges that are on the bingo board. And I'm also going to be reading things for TBRathon. TBRathon is going on both in the month of January, and then there's a year-long reading challenge, which I thought I was going to participate in, but I might not. I haven't fully cemented that yet. But the challenge for January is this Lost in the Library game board, so you can roll a die of your choice. I've been using a D6. I've got my little token. I'm using a Winterween-esque token. And so far, I've gone to the 2026 goal square, and I've got a list of 26 books to read in 2026. One of those was Kiki Kalira Breaks a Kingdom by Sangha Mandana. So that was actually the first book that I read this year. So I started at that square, read that book, and then I went to the Read a Debut square and read a book that I purchased that I was meaning to read for my Female Gaze SFF reading challenge, which was Ocean's Gadori by Elaine Yu Cho. And I last rolled on I got the move back one and then went back to the new or old square and read the book that I bought most recently, which was exactly what I wanted, which was To the Moon and Back by Eve Noble. I have a lot to say about that book, but you'll have to see that in my end of the month wrap up. I'm also right now reading this big chonker, which is The Dragonbone Chair by Michael Whalen. This is for an upcoming vlog, and I am 100 pages in, but it is a 700-page book, almost 800-page book, so I'm only 14% of the way through. I'm also listening on audio. I really need to get to a third of the way through so I can film my third of the way through update, and I need to put out this vlog, but I'm gonna be reading that alongside Buffalo Hunter, and then hopefully in this vlog I will roll on the Lost in the Library game board to get another book. Today I'm meeting up with my writing buddy and we're going to hang out, get some writing done, eat some good food, so I might have some footage from that. And probably while I'm driving, in between listening to the Dragonbone Chair audiobook, I can listen to a Halloween playlist. I'm probably just going to listen to the Over the Garden Wall soundtrack if I'm being perfectly honest. Also, I'll talk more about this in my January reading wrap-up. I made a NetGalley account because I was curious to see if I could get some ARCs, and I requested some books. I know enough about NetGalley to not request a bunch of things at once because you need to keep your ratio good of like books you've been approved for versus ones you've actually like read and reviewed. So I want that ratio to be perfect. And I got approved for several ARCs that I was really excited about immediately, just kind of as a new user. I don't know if that's kind of a grace thing of like, oh, we'll get you started with some books to be nice, but I'm hoping to use that going forward to say, hey, I'm gonna read all the books you give me. I got approved for The Johnson 4 by Christina Hammonds Reed, and all I'll say is I gave it 5 stars, and it's currently my favorite book of the year, but I want to write up a review for it and post that on NetGalley, so I need to do that today before I leave. And then I also got approved for an advanced listener copy, so an like audiobook ARC of Nobody's Baby by Olivia Waite, which I also finished, so I need to write my review for that. So I'm gonna work on those reviews and then head out to see my friend. It's Sunday morning, it's day 3 of Winterween. I had a great day yesterday with my friend. We got some good food, went for a walk. We saw a really cool greenhouse in a little park. Went to a great bookstore called King's Books. They had so much stuff there, but I resisted the temptation to buy anything. And I listened to an autumn playlist, a Over the Garden Wall inspired folk playlist on my drive home, so cross that one off the list. I haven't started the Buffalo Hunter yet. Dragonbone Chair is really hanging over my head, and it's like, I'm not enjoying it, but I never want to pick it up, and I don't want to listen to the audio, so I'm actually going to roll a die on the Lost in the Library TBRathon game board, so I can check something out from the library for another audio so that I have another audiobook to listen to, because I just keep wanting to listen to music instead of the Dragonbone Chair audio. So as you can see, my little ghost is on the new or old square, and I'm gonna roll my pride die here in my dice tray. And that is a 3. So I'm going to move, let's see, if I move 1, 2, 3, that's renewal. So that can be an author you've read from before, or a reread, or a book from the library. I could interpret that as a book from the library and just check out an audiobook. If I go 1, 2, 3, that's a banned book. I've got, Will Man o' War by Corey McCarthy is on my TBR, and that's a banned book, but also How the Word is Passed, which I actually just bought last night. I did mention I went to Half Price Books yesterday on my way home from my friend's house, and I got How the Word is Passed, but I do want to read that in February for Black History Month. So let's go 1, 2, okay, back to here. 1, 2, 3 to renewal, and then I'll check out a book from the library. I have saved on Libby kind of tags for all of the books that I'm interested in, and I can sort them by books that are available, and I'm looking here at audiobooks that are available. I think it'd be nice to read something by a Black author, and since it's Winterween, Delicious Monsters is a YA horror by a Black author, so that's the one that I ended up going with. So I'm going to start listening to that one, I think, on my walk today.
last day of 4, I think, of Winterween. Wait, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, day 4. I'm out on my walk. I'm listening to Delicious Monsters by Lizelle Sambury on audio, and I'm enjoying it. It's definitely more overt horror than I'm used to, where all of the descriptors that are normally like, I felt sad, were like, I wanted to tear my face off and let the skin come down in bloody strips. You're like, whoa, okay. But it does have this dual timeline angle that I'm really enjoying, and the comp title is Sadie, which I loved. I am really enjoying kind of like figuring out what's going on along with the characters and knowing that something bad happened to the first main character, Daisy, and then following 10 years later as they're kind of investigating this mysterious house that she and her mom lived in. Both the main characters, Daisy and Brittany, the one who's investigating her, have these kind of neglectful, emotionally abusive relationships with their moms, so they have those parallels going on, and so I'm really intrigued. I'm enjoying it. I think that it is the type of book that compels you to keep reading and keep finding out what's going on. And I think both of the main characters are super complicated girls and are not like conventionally likable, but I think the author is definitely doing that on purpose, and they're still worthy of love and people looking out for them, which is kind of the MO of Brittany, who is interested in true crime about missing black girls. I did get to 33% of the way through the Dragonbone Chair last night. I filmed my update for that for the other vlog, and it is a lot easier to read. Oh, I also put this in the vlog, and I'll mention here that I was listening to the audio, but then a character got introduced, and I think they're like kind of Inuit inspired, or at least the language is, and the narrator was doing a like what I was interpreting as a like offensive East Asian accent, so I don't think I can keep listening to that audio anymore, so I'm just going to be listening to Delicious Monsters for Winterween. I've got D&D tonight, so I'm not going to have all that much reading time, and it's my turn to bring food, so I'm making pozole in the crock pot, and it's making the whole house smell really good, so I can't wait to eat that. Alright, that's what I have for today. I may update later today after work, or might not see you until tomorrow, but either way, I'll talk to you then.
If it's ready, we need to turn off the oven, but prop open the oven door with a spoon so that the pie cools down completely and doesn't crack in the oven. So let's take a look, see how jiggly it is. Oh, yeah, I would say that's done. Okay. Alright, I think the pie's cooled down a little bit, but I'm also too impatient to wait because it smells really good. It's hard to do this one-handed. Okay, the bumps have gone down, so that's a good sign. It hasn't cracked. I overfilled this pie. I didn't think that it had as much filling as it did, so I'm curious to see how much ended up beneath. Quite a bit. We'll see how it tastes. It looks like it cooked well. It's nice and flat and brown. So hopefully it's not too soggy on the bottom. Ending day 5 of Winterween, I got to the, 32% mark of the Buffalo Hunter tonight. It's slow going. I think that's more my fault than the book's fault. I haven't read horror like this before. Some of the only horror that I've read has been YA or by T. Kingfisher, which I think is a little bit more forgiving when it comes to horror. So it's gory, and that's not really bothering me. Like, there have been some points where I'm kind of like, oh, yuck, or just giving me some chills, but it's not enough to like turn me off of it or anything. And we're getting kind of the origin of the vampire Goodstab and his first winter as a vampire. And so it is very much an appropriate Winterween book, since a lot of it takes place during winter. One of the kind of nested stories that's from the perspective of the preacher, Arthur Bocarn. That's good meat. Interesting. Anyway, that's set in April, and they keep referencing the Titanic because the Titanic is like on its way to the States. So that part is not set during the winter. But anyway, I am also 66% of the way through Delicious Monsters, the one by Lizelle Sambury that I'm listening to on audio. And God, there's so much going on there. So much that I can't spoil, but things are being revealed, and then we have even more questions. Like, something just got revealed. I'm like, I don't think that's the full story. I think that the mom is involved a lot more, and just the emotional neglect and abuse and manipulation by both moms in the story is just so infuriating. And I just really want to get their daughters away from them. But I'm continuing to be intrigued by it and enjoying the twists and turns and trying to unravel the mystery. The 10 years later plotline, where Brittany's the main character, is cropping up less than I expected, but it, like Sadie, it's something that we're seeing after the fact, and we're just seeing bits and pieces of it. I think it's really well done and really interesting the way that we're learning some things in the 10 years later timeline before we learn them in the kind of main storyline, and then seeing the various characters react to them. And also, we don't know how either story ends, and neither do the characters in the 10 years later plotline, or obviously the characters that are experiencing it firsthand, and so we're all kind of figuring it out together. I'm not a true crime person, but I think that media that deals with true crime media, like Sadie or Only Murders in the Building, those are super interesting to me, but I've never gotten into true crime or anything like that. Oh, I should also talk about the fall treat that I made to take off a bingo square. I had some pumpkin pie filling left over from Thanksgiving, because this pumpkin pie filling that I use by Claire Saffitz always makes twice as much as you need, so I froze the other half. And then this weekend I made pie crusts, and you'll see in the footage that I rolled out the pie crust, blind baked it, and baked the pumpkin pie today, and it turned out good. When I ate it, when the pumpkin pie was still a little bit warm, the crust was very chewy, and I think that's because I had to work with it a little bit more than I usually would. It did not kind of gain moisture and come together in the fridge. I usually freeze my pie crusts before I use them, and so that seems to have some kind of effect on the texture, but I just refrigerated it this time, and so it turned out kind of weird. But then after it had been in the fridge for a little bit and I had another slice, it was fine. So maybe it just needed to settle in the fridge. So that's really tasty. Glad that I got that filling out of the freezer and enjoyed a delicious fall treat. I'm going into the office tomorrow, but I don't have anything tomorrow night, so I'm hoping to work more on Buffalo Hunter Hunter. Really hoping to finish it before the end of Winterween, and then also finish the audiobook that I'm listening to, and maybe roll again on the game board. I'm a little frustrated with my progress in my current reads right now, but I am reading books that are like 400, 500, 600 pages long. All the books that I'm reading right now are really long, and I know that it's all about like quality over quantity, but I like seeing number go up in the books that I read, and I haven't finished a book since last week, so hoping to do that soon and maybe get some short ones off my TBR. See, the problem is less that I want to read a lot of books, it's more that I want there to be fewer books on my TBR, and that's an important distinction. I get almost as much satisfaction deleting a book off my TBR before I read it as I do reading a book to get it off my TBR, but there just keep being interesting books out there that I want to read, and my goal is for my TBR to be around 250 books, but right now it's like pushing 290, and that can't go on, so I gotta get some books off of there by any means necessary. Alright, I gotta go get ready for bed, so that's gonna be it for me today, and I will update you tomorrow, day 6 of Winterween. Day 6 of Winterween is coming to a close. I finished 2 of my books today, Delicious Monsters by Lizelle Sambury and The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, both of which were outright horror, which is not usually a genre that I read, and after these 2, I'm thinking, I just don't think this genre is for me. Neither of these books were objectively bad. The way that they were written and structured was good, but they're just, I don't think horror's ever gonna do it for me like other genres do, so it's not like I'm gonna go deleting every horror book off my TBR or anything. It's just not something that I'm going to seek out unless I really, really like the author or the premise. I was really satisfied and happy with the way that Delicious Monsters ended without spoiling anything. I think it definitely keeps the MO of the book in not letting Black girls and crimes committed against Black girls be forgotten. There were some twists and turns, but unlike in other horror, or at least my perception of horror, I was really happy with how it ended. Like, it didn't have a downer ending. That's my main perception of horror, and I don't mind all of the bad things happening as long as there's like catharsis and it ends well. And that's why I like the T. Kingfisher books, because I generally know the main character will be okay at the end, so I can handle that just fine knowing that the main character is gonna make it out okay. So I think that's really what I need in horror, is that guarantee. And then the Buffalo Hunter Hunter, I was really having to push myself to read it. I thought, oh, I'll get through to 66% tonight, and then tomorrow night I'll finish it, but I came home and got the chores done and just had a nice quiet evening to lay on the couch and read, so I did end up finishing it. Once I clear the 50% mark on a book, even if I'm struggling with it, the second half always goes much faster, and so that was definitely the case here. I think that one of the reasons I just didn't connect with this book as much is the main characters, all of them, are really isolated, and what I'm drawn to in the stuff that I read, not even fiction, like nonfiction as well, is relationships and connections between people. It doesn't have to be romantic. I just find relationships like familial or romantic or friendship super interesting and the main draw to books for me. And because the character that we're following for so much of the book, Good Stab, and Arthur Bocarn, the priest, because they're so isolated as characters, I had difficulty really like sinking into the book. And there are parts where it's just kind of a two-man story where Good Stab is talking to Arthur, and that was definitely compelling, and I think that the story and the mechanics of the vampires within this world are very compelling. No one in the book is really a good person. It's again like I can acknowledge that it's well done while still going, I didn't really feel a lot, this didn't grip me, but that's two like 450 plus page books that I finished, so it does feel really good to get those done. And then while I was at work today and I finished the audiobook for Delicious Monsters, I needed another audiobook to get me home to listen to on my commute back. So I rolled on the TBR game board. As you can see here, I got a 3, and I kind of looked at my options on the game board and decided to go for Asian American Pacific Islander author. I personally use the term Asian or Pacific Islander author because some authors are from Asia and it's translated, or they're British Chinese, so but it was AAPI on the square, so that's what I'm calling it. And I looked at Libby to see what was available. For some reason in my head I had the idea that it had to be a YA or middle grade, and then I realized that it was just any book by an API author, and so I went with The Last Phi Hunter by Salini Goldenberg, I think her name is, which I've been really excited to read. So I started that, and it's so much fun already. I haven't played or seen or read The Witcher, but I know the gist of it, and it's a kind of Witcher-inspired story in a Thai-inspired setting, and the main character is a monster hunter who has magic, and he is accompanying a very pregnant woman out into kind of the dangerous wilds of the world, but I'm only 8% of the way in, so that's all that I've read so far. The writing is fun. I love the descriptions of the setting, and I think that the relationship between the two characters is already very interesting, and I can see it being interesting as the story goes on. And I think it's going to be a quest book, which I love a quest and journey book. Speaking of which, I'm very far along into the Dragonbone Chair. Part 2 is cooking. I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm really starting to enjoy the book now that more women have showed up. There haven't been that many so far. More than in Lord of the Rings, but not that many. I just love this character that got introduced called Binabik. He's my king, and the journey through this big forest. Definitely starting to see the reason that people compare this book to Lord of the Rings, and yeah, it's just cruising along for me. I'm really enjoying it, and in fact, when I'm done filming this, I'm gonna get ready for bed and lay in bed and read more of that. I'll have my final thoughts and update for you tomorrow, the last day of Winterween, but I'm really happy having finished Delicious Monsters and the Buffalo Hunter today. Oh, and I got to update my friend who I'm sort of buddy reading Buffalo Hunter with and see how far along he is. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'm out on my walk. The sunset was late enough today that I could actually go on a walk after work for the first time in months, so that's really nice. I tried to take my car in to get the oil change today at my lunch break, but the wait was too long, so I just came home. So I didn't get to go for a walk on my lunch break like I usually would. So I walked on my walking pad for a little bit while I was working. And I think I'm going to end my Winterween TBR Harvest reading vlog here. I'm probably not going to read anything for the rest of the night except for the Dragonbone Chair, since I'm about 240 pages away from finishing it. God, it's so long. Why is it so long? Tide Williams, please tell me why is it so long? Why are there so many people on this corner all of a sudden while I'm trying to film? Hang on. Alright, we're gonna walk and talk. So I am listening to the audiobook of The Last Phi Hunter by Salini Goldenberg, which I rolled for on the Lost in the Library game board yesterday, and I'm really enjoying it. I feel like the main character could have been kind of a bog standard male main character, but I feel like he's actually a pretty sweet guy and has ambitions, but like listens to and respects the people around him. And I'm really enjoying the world. There's this divide between like old magic and the outer provinces, and then new magic and the like cities and empire of the king, maybe emperor, I can't remember. Also, there's this dynamic with the Phi being actually like reincarnated people who did evil things, and so some of them have to be killed because they're like eating people, but X, the main character, is content to just leave a lot of them alone if they're not like doing anything bad, because they need to live out their punishment and then get reincarnated. And sometimes they have to spend several lives before they like achieve enlightenment, as in my very limited understanding of Buddhism. And there was a chapter from the perspective of a Phi woman who is very, very close to, it seemed like, being reincarnated as a person or like achieving enlightenment. And so that was, people go so freaking fast on this road, and it's really dangerous because like people walk their dogs and stuff. Like I cross this street and people just go zooming by it. And it's also funny because people try zooming through here in the winter, and we're on a hill, so it's quite dangerous. I was wondering if there's going to be a conversation in the book about like the ethics of killing these Phi, and you know, if they deserve it and what all. And the first Phi that X kills in the book did murder people and eat them, and so you're like, okay, well yeah, that Phi needed to be stopped. But I appreciate the discussion of the morality of it is already coming up so quickly, and X just made, I think, a very bad decision, fueled by his ambition to kill this one big demon Phi. So we're going to see where that goes. Something absolutely wild also happened with the pregnant woman and her baby, so I'm curious to see where that goes. And where I just stopped listening, they were all in danger. So I'll be eager to get back to that. And I filmed this after I filmed the end of the video, so if there's a weird discrepancy in the background, this is Ivy, so that's why. So I think that Winterween was a success. I cheated a little by using Delicious Monsters for Winterween and TBRathon. I might have said TBR Harvest earlier in this video. I meant TBRathon. But yeah, that was a horror book, and then I read The Buffalo Hunter, and I think those are the only books that I finished since Dragonbone Chair is taking so long. And I got a bingo. I'll show that on screen here. I read a night, I baked a fall treat, and read a thriller or horror book. I think there was one other. Oh, I listened to a fall playlist. And I will continue to do TBRathon until the end of the month. I've got lots of books to read for lots of upcoming videos, so I am feeling a little bit like, not boxed in, but just, I was like, I have some books to read before I return them to the library, and then books to read by a certain time for upcoming videos. So I have all these books that I'm looking forward to, and I'm not reading anything as fast as I want to. Oh my gosh, there's so many crows. Hang on. Every night at sunset, the crows in the area fly to the UW Bothell campus to roost, and there's about like a 10,000 crow murder of them. So it is really cool to see them flying at sunset every night. I got some other footage of them today too. That's gonna wrap this video up. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Gabby for hosting Winterween and Leanna for hosting TBRathon. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.